Well, hello, and welcome to ZBrush Live. Let's see, quite a few of you watching, and I just was wondering if you guys can hear me and see me okay. It's been a bit. There was the ZBrush Summit, and which was awesome. And so that was during my stream time, so I kind of skipped a week. And yeah, so now we're back. And however, while I was at the ZBrush Summit, I actually did some work on the model, but I will do some of that work again today. So anyway, before we go on, if somebody can just let me know if you're watching, whether or not you can see my screen and hear me okay, that would be great. Do all the internet things, like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can ask questions during the stream and I'll do my best to answer them for you. And also, if you want to ask questions after the fact, you can always leave them as comments and we will try and get back to you with an answer. Okay, so that said, let's get to our thing. But before I do that, though, if somebody could please let me know that you can hear me and see my screen okay, that would be awesome. I need somebody from Twitch and somebody from YouTube, and then we can get started. So I'll wait a couple of seconds here because I know there's a little bit of a delay. All right, here we go. We've got somebody from YouTube, May Myers, thank you very much. And we got somebody from Twitch, thank you very much as well. All right, excellent. Thank you all for chiming in. So basically where we left this guy last time was we kind of was sculpting him. I kind of did a few things here. I added some color just to kind of distinguish some of the parts. And you will see that here as I hide the mask. So that's selected. So this is the inside part of his head. What I did at the ZBrush Summit, because I kind of had a little bit of a demo at the Maxon booth there, I did his suit, and I also did these parts, which we might use them, we might not. I'm going to hide them for now and then do this whole thing over again. And then we also, I think we did this last time in the stream, I'm not sure, but it's just basically going to be some sort of a tube that plugs into it. So we kind of have a story for this guy as well. Hey, Gustavo, how's it going? The story is he's some sort of a space pirate. He's actually a person who has died, but he is kind of, his presence is downloaded into this computer, and this is his actual skull, which he has in here, but he basically lives on kind of as this kind of zombie slash cybernetic kind of creature. All right, so now that we have the story for the guy, it'll be a lot easier to kind of formulate some of the aspects of him. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to give him some sort of a suit. So again, I had that made, and I'm going to try and do another one, and we can decide which one is better. But I want to go through those stages here on the stream, so you guys can see my workflow for it. Okay, all right. So if anybody have any questions so far, or if you haven't been following, this is Kermaco Designworks, and I usually do hard surface stuff and also some character design. This season I'm doing this character right here, yeah. So let's start kind of moving some of these things around, and I'll get started on the suit. I do have a reference sheet for this, by the way. I should bring it up and show it to you all. So it keeps getting added to, but basically the principal image is this AI generated one that I'm trying to emulate. Of course, AI generates interesting images, but you can't really look at them in 3D. And also there's a lot of funky stuff. Like when you look at this thing at first, you're like, oh wow, this is really cool. But as you start examining the details, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. As well as this one right here. I kind of like his armor, so I'm going to emulate some of that. This is kind of another type of probably generated in the same session. The other thing that I'm finding out about AI that's interesting is that you cannot get the same kind of thing twice. So you can put in the same prompt on a different day and get something completely different. So here, I'm just going to kind of set that up as my kind of reference, and then we can get going. And Gustavo, yeah, ask your question. I'll be more than happy to answer it. Okay, Marcin Hoops says greetings from Brazil. Greetings back from sunny Los Angeles. And yeah, so Gustavo, what is your question? You can definitely ask me what your question is. So here I'm going to move to the body, and while Gustavo is typing in his question, I'll start kind of showing you what's going on here. So this body here is kind of a generic body that I have, not a very sophisticated one, but I'm going to solo it out so you can see it. It's just kind of a humanoid type of body, and I have it polygrouped so I can separate out pieces. So you can see here I've got the shoes polygrouped, as well as as well as what the heck? Okay, this is kind of interesting. I never really thought I would be getting political stuff in my chat, but I guess you can't get away from it. And let's see, who else do we have here? Okay, yeah, Gustavo, go ahead and ask your question. So anyway, coming here, we basically have a lot of this kind of separation so that I can do different types of clothing pieces. So for example, all these polygroups, I can separate them out. So here, for example, if I want to separate out, let me go down in subdivision level. I want to separate out this kind of top part, I can do it, and then I can generate like an armor piece in the front from that. Same thing with the back. And then also, if I want to do a shirt, I can do, let me choose, select rectangle here. There's this, 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 this. And if I invert it, so there's basically a type of a shirt, and these are all edge loops, so I can cut the edge loops out and generate the clothing that I want. All right, so Gustavo, I'm studying a lot of ZBrush. It's been months. I'm still thinking about when I'm sculpting and I'm finishing the base mesh phase, when I will know the right moment to use ZRemesher and begin the high quality details. Okay, good question. I'm confused about what is a base mesh and when it's the details part. The base mesh is just kind of a generic starting point. There are existing base meshes that you can get. ZBrush comes with a few. So if you go to your project here, ZBrush comes with a male base mesh and a female base mesh. And I don't know if these are polygrouped or not, but they are decent topology, so you can go in there and polygroup them yourself. It's not that hard to do. And I mean, base mesh could be anything. It could be like you can go to ZZoo and pick any one of these animals and make them into a base mesh. So a base mesh is just kind of the base point you start with. And it could be a sphere that you sculpt into something, but the point where you need to actually start using ZRemesher is, when you need to retopologize. And sometimes you don't even need to use ZRemesher. Sometimes you can get away with just Dynamesh, again, depending on what your destination is for your model. So this is kind of the basic fundamental stuff that is taught in schools. The best way to kind of tell you about these things is when you are actually doing your project. So in a lot of the classes that I teach, the students do a project, and then basically I explain it to them based on that project. I am looking into maybe possibly doing some online classes, so we'll see how that goes. And if we do, then you guys can do projects. And if you do those projects, I can tell you exactly what you need to do. And that's kind of the best way to learn what the different stages are and how you can make it happen. So anyway, this is kind of a creature. I'm kind of just going down to the low subdivision level, making some different edits here. He's kind of got like a comic book, like a Scooby-Doo kind of comic book posture to him. So I can maybe work a little bit on his gesture here, maybe to get some kind of flowing lines. Obviously, his proportions are not human, as he is not human. And it's just basically kind of a cybernetic, robotic kind of creature that has some human characteristics. And since this guy's a space pirate, he wants it not to look a bit menacing. So there's a character brief about this guy that we are somewhat following. Okay, so at this point, I need to determine what his... it's kind of like an A pose. I'm going to pose him later on in Character Creator, so I don't really need to worry about too many things here. I just need to get just the basics down. And then, so I've got the body, and now I need to generate clothing over it. So then I got to decide where does that, oh, you bet, sure. Are you going to stay, Gustavo, or are you going to watch this after the fact? All right, let's see here. I'm kind of working on this little bit of a rib cage thing. And this guy wants to look a little bit skeletal just because he wants to be menacing, so he's kind of... not the, you know, the friendliest guy. You know, he's kind of like a Skeletor or somebody like that, where he's got some sort of a, you know, a bad guy kind of attitude to him. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and choose what part of this we're going to use, right? So I'm going to go ahead and solo this out. Obviously, I don't really need this neck hole, so I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. So let me go back to select here, so it's a lot faster. Okay, and I'm going to have it be long sleeve. In the thing, I tried it to have it be kind of have like these glove hands, but I'm going to do that separately. So I'm going to go ahead and hide these, so that remains the fingers. I can just hide the fingers like this. Oops. All right. I don't have symmetry on. I do have symmetry on, so why didn't it do both sides? That's weird. Okay, oh, because they're different polygroups. That's right. Not a problem. I can do them individually, and there's one thing there that was just its own polygroup. That's really weird. And then now, of course, we don't really need the shoes, so I'm going to hide those, and then we don't need the soles either. I'm going to hide those as well. Okay, and so now I basically, from his body, have generated this, and he's going to be wearing some sort of a jumpsuit, but there are some edge loops I don't need in here. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a duplicate of this. Okay, so the one on top is going to be his body, which is going to be underneath, and we need that because we're going to use it to move the cloth around on. And then we have this one, and in this one I don't really need those hidden parts, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete the hidden parts. And I'm also going to delete some edge loops down here, maybe this one right here. So the problem with this is that it does have UVs as well. So if I delete something, I might have an issue with losing the UVs. So let's try and see if that happens. I forget whether you lose the UVs if you delete any edge loops. So here we go, UV map, morph UV. Okay, so this thing has UVs, as you can see, and then morph UV back. That's weird because something strange is happening to the back part here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to regenerate these UVs. Actually, I don't really care. I can re-UV it later. Doesn't matter. I'm actually going to not care about the UVs right now. I've decided, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete this poly loop. So delete, edge loop, poly loop, and then I have symmetry on. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I also made some changes to my UI since I had a week off. I've been meaning to do this for a while. Why is this? Oh, because it's got multiple edge loops. Okay, so that's the other thing too. This thing has subdivision levels, and I don't really need the upper subdivision levels, so I'm going to delete them. So I'm going to go in here and say delete all the higher subdivision levels. Right there. And then just delete these poly loops. Okay, maybe one more, because I don't really need those coming down that far. And for the arm, I think I'm good. All right, so this looks good as far as the clothing is concerned. And then I'm going to bring everything back. So you can see that I've got the original body, and then I've got the other one on top. And what I'm going to do with this piece, I'm also going to maybe smooth down the neck a little bit, like so. And you can kind of see it underneath the body. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just give it a little bit of an inflate, and I do that in deformation, and I'll type it in because I just want to do a tiny bit of it. So I'm just going to do a 1 level inflate. There it is. Let's try one more. Okay, there we go. I just want it to be on top of what's underneath. Okay, maybe one more. Let's try one more inflate just so it's kind of, you know, on top of his clothing. And then also, it seems like I couldn't really get into this bottom part over here, so I'm just going to move this over like that, and yeah, there it is. Okay, and what I want to do here is for the neckline, I want to add a border, right? So for that, there's different ways of doing it. I'm just going to solo this out again. What I want is I want an edge loop going out around here. So there are different ways of doing this, and I'm going to, let's see, what would be I think I'm going to do this trick right here. So I'm going to go to extrude. Okay, and then I'm going to say mesh border. Now that's going to extrude from here, but it's also going to extrude from the hands and the feet, and that's okay. I'm just going to do a little bit of an extrusion like that. So basically that gives me a nice ring that goes around his neck, but you can see it also added another edge loop down here and one down here, but that's okay. And notice here that if I do it down here, you can see it on the other side. And now I've got 2 edge loops that I added for the arm, and I've got 2 edge loops I've added for the neck, and that's fine. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to project this onto the clothing below, and there isn't anything else that it's going to probably stick to, so I'm just going to go to subtool here and go to project, and I'm just going to say project all, and so now that just basically sticks it to the body, which is fine. And I'm going to do the inflate thing one more time just to get it to be a little bit over. The reason why I did this is because of the new geometry I added. I didn't want it to be kind of sticking out. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and inflate this. Let's do 2. And there it is, perfection. So now I'm kind of ready to use this as cloth. Now, this is pretty low res. I'm probably, let's see what that looks like as cloth. So I'm going to bring up the dynamics menu, and I'm going to say I want to inflate this, or I want to create a collision volume, and the collision volume is what's underneath, right? So the inflate, this is basically how much further than the what's underneath it's going to inflate. And 1 is a little bit too high. I'm going to go for maybe 0.1 here. Resolution 2048 is fine, and I'm just going to click on recalc, and that calculates it. So now if I run the simulation, you can see, whoa, you can see that it kind of simulates it. Now I don't really have a lot of points here, and also the gravity is too strong, so I'm going to go for a gravity of 0.1 as well, and let's try and see what that does. So you can kind of see the cloth kind of struggling a little bit with what's on top, but not really doing much because the gravity isn't that big. I'm going to maybe just 0.5. Let's see what that does. So now you can kind of see it sagging down, but again, not really what I'm after. I'm going to click on expand here and try this again. Now I'm getting something a little bit different where it's expanding it out. But at this point, I think I can add a subdivision level. So Control D to add a subdivision level here. And I'm going to run the simulation again. And now I'm getting some cloth looking type of things, which are good, but maybe I don't really want all of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and store a morph target. So I basically created the morph target stuff here, morph target, delete morph target, and switch. You can see that I basically just put a lot of stuff that was over here on the bottom, and also moved some stuff around just to kind of create a scenario which is more appropriate to the way I'm working now. Oh wow, there's a bunch of stuff you guys are saying. Marcine Hoops, taking advantage of your teachings. Okay, you're welcome. And she has several polygons, even after zero mesh. Okay, the brush doesn't come out with definition. Okay, I'll tell you what the problem is with that. Everybody encounters that at some point, and now after I tell you, you'll never encounter it again. Yeah. So when you're brushing on a object, right? So here, I'm going to, let me just go to like some generic thing here. I'll go to this, right? So here's this object, and I'll just choose the Damien standard brush, and this will, whoa, I need to make this a little bit smaller. I usually do this before the stream, but I forgot to this time. Not a problem. We can do it very quickly. Just going in here, choosing that, and making it smaller. This is just the Wacom tablet brush, so or radial menu, so it just kind of comes up over here. So what I'm going to do is just use Damien standard, right? And I'm also going to, let's change the color of this thing to something else. Let's choose a lighter color, like that. Okay, so if I'm sculpting here, you can see my sculpture, my strokes are really great. So the reason why that is because if I go here and look at the size, So if I go under geometry and I look at size, I can see that this is like 1.3, 1.3, and 1.09. So as long as these are under 2, you'll be okay. But if I go in here and let me just turn symmetry off. And if I make this thing super big, now you can see that the scale is changing, right? And even if I zoom out, it still has that big scale. So I'm going to keep going here with the scale. So now this is 150. So now notice that my brush size, even if it's at the bigger size, it's pretty small. And when I sculpt, it's not as responsive. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's within that boundary. Also, if it's too small, so I'm going to do the opposite of this now. Like I keep going, and I'm at 1.5, so this is kind of okay, but I'm going even, smaller, right? So now it's 0.1 and whatnot. So now notice that my brush, I don't even see the size of it because it's huge. And even if I get to a small size here, the response is not really the same as it would be if this was 2 by 2 by 2. Now the way you can get it there is just you go to the deformation menu and you click on Unify, and that basically will, and as you can see here, put it so that it is in that. So the X, which is the biggest thing here, is in that 2 by 2 by 2 cube, and now you can work on it great. Okay, so Marcin, that's what you need to do, is you need to make sure that your object is within the unified space of ZBrush. I know it's kind of a confusing thing, but once you kind of get the hang of it, you'll never really worry about it again. You'll know exactly what's going on. Okay, so let's get back to our clothing here, and I'm going to turn this on. Where are you, clothing? Okay, yep, that's it. All right, so let's kind of try the simulation again. There it is. So I'm getting a lot of this kind of stuff, but I've stored a morph target, and what I can do here is I can just use my morph slider to just kind of choose how much of this I want. And I'm going to try and go for the extreme here, like maybe about that much right there. So it's kind of like I do have some definitions of cloth, but it's not too sophisticated. I'm going to do one more subdivision level here. I think I can still run the simulation at the subdivision level, so I can get a little bit of better folds as well. Again, I can always oh, you know what I should have done, and I can do it again. Control Z out of here. I'm going to delete my morph target that I had before. Well, actually, sorry, I'm going to do this completely differently. I'm going to add a third level morph target, third level here, delete the morph target, store it at level 3, and then run my simulation. Okay, so you can see in level 3 here, I get a lot more kind of finer folds, which is not what I want. So I'm going to drop this down to 2 and see what I get. This is the type of folds I want. Even at level 1, I'm going to get some pretty big defining folds. And these are kind of the defining folds that I want. Now, notice that my morph really doesn't matter, but I can jump up to level 3 here, and I can bring my morph down to the way it was. So I'm going to go something like this, and then run the simulation again. Now, when I'm running the simulation, what's happening is that it's expanding, but it's also expand means like the cloth is expanding, but it's also bringing it in. So I'm going to set the gravity a little bit higher. Let's see what we get here. All right, so I'm getting a little bit of interesting folds here. Let's see if what morph will give me. I think, I'm getting the kind of folds that I want. This part is really baggy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this cloth is too loose. I'm going to make it a little bit firmer. So I'm going to go to firmness here and change it to 3. And I'm also going to go all the way back here to what I had, like that. And I think this morph target I'm going to store at 2. I think I like that level more for the simulation. And the gravity is a bit too harsh here, so I'm going to take that down to 0.6 maybe. And I'm going to maybe add a little bit of a deflate to this. Or yeah, a little bit of a deflate, but I want it to be subtle. So I'm going to do that at 0.1. And expand, I'm going to do that at 0.7. All right, so run the simulation. Okay, so now I'm getting kind of what I want, which is this kind of spacesuity, kind of sagging type of look. Gustavo, you're going to try the question again? Sure. Okay. And Marcin, I guess that solved your problem. That's always good to know. Okay, so here, what I can do, so I'm getting kind of the folds that I want. I'm going to turn polyframe off. Oh yeah. I think this is looking better than what I did at the summit. Of course, I've got a little bit more experience since I did it then. And notice here, if I go to the next subdivision level, these will look even better, right? So second subdivision level was the magic level to do these folds. And if I want to change these out a bit, so here I can just kind of jump out of symmetry and I can get my morph brush and start like maybe see if with my morph brush and maybe reduce the intensity of it a bit. I can just go in here and just it's got RGB on. I'm going to turn RGB off because I don't want to paint with the morph brush. I just want to change some of these so they're not the same, right? So I'm just basically morphing these folds back a little bit just to kind of get rid of that symmetry, because not everything usually is that symmetric with folds, right? So here I'm kind of having some of these be a little bit different, and then I'll also manually move the cloth around in a little bit to get that effect. It's interesting what happened over back here, so I can just kind of maybe just hit that a little bit with the morph brush, and here I'm just basically taking that cloth back to its original type of form. Okay. Kind of liked what was going on here, so again Alt will bring it even further out, and I kind of like these little V-shaped things that I created, but I don't want the silhouette to be the same, so here I'm just going to change this out a bit, a little bit here too. So here I'm basically deciding kind of where I want that morph to happen. The knees look very similar, so here I can kind of maybe change this one out a bit on this side and this one a little bit on this side, and that basically creates a little bit of randomness to the cloth. And then I can use some of my dynamics brushes, so I've got them all grouped here in my menu, and I'm going to use the cloth nudge and just nudge this around a bit. Am I at level 2? I am. So notice here that as soon as I touch it, it's kind of doing its own other thing, which I don't really want that to happen. So at this point, I kind of like this stage of it. I'm just going to duplicate it. So I've got a copy of it that I can project and whatnot. I'm going to delete my morph target and store this as a morph target. And then just use the nudge brush, which seems to have a pretty high intensity. I'm going to reduce that intensity and just, you know, add a little bit of more of kind of clothing definition on here. And this is starting to look pretty good. And I'm going to go to cloth pull here. And so in areas where cloth gets pulled a lot is in the elbow and the armpits. And this is kind of, I'm going to turn off expand. I don't really want it to expand anymore. And I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of this to get the cloth to act a little bit differently. Like so. And so I'm getting some really interesting folds. And again, you always kind of want to be working on these areas where you know there's going to be a lot of motion. So I'm going to kind of move these there. When I was beta testing the dynamics, I was intending on, excuse me, creating a tutorial, a ZBrush tutorial on the 7 folds and how to do them in ZBrush, and I still haven't gotten around to it. Just been super busy. Okay, got a couple of big questions here. Let's get to them. Let's see. All right. Is there a faster way to remove the area in the mouth than clay do? What's clay do? May Myers, I don't know what you're saying there. Okay, so Gustavo's back in general. I know there's a phase on sculpt first, block and base mesh, and then use your mesher when you're ready. So apply subdivision levels to increase the polygons. Okay, and begin to mask, extrude, and okay. How could I know until when it's a block and when I begin using subdivision levels to start details? Okay, Gustavo, I think what you're asking me, I mean, there's a couple of things. I don't know if I'm understanding your question correctly, but I'm going to take another stab at it. So basically, it's just looking at things as primary forms, secondary forms, and tertiary forms. That's how I work. And if I kind of can give you an example here, if we go back to the tools. So in ZBrush, you can see that you've got a very detailed face over here, but this face has probably mostly secondary and some tertiary shapes. But if you go over here, this is kind of a blocky face, the head planes, that basically has the primary forms. So, just make sure you're kind of, you got your primary forms in place, and then you can start adding your secondary forms and then adding your tertiary forms. And I hope that's kind of what you were asking about. But yeah, I think that's kind of something that a lot of students struggle with, is that, they don't know when to kind of start adding detail. They start adding detail really early on, and you shouldn't do that. You should get the basic forms done, and then you can dive into the detail. Okay, Scroll Reaper, hey, thanks for streaming. You're welcome. I'm polishing my sculpts, and I believe they're super clean, but have no retopo to show for it. Okay. I want to apply to a studio tomorrow, and they are urgently looking for applicants. I was looking, I think I could cheese a polygroup retopo and trying to get great loops in that way. Well, I mean, ZRemesher can give you, can give you a pretty good topology, but it's definitely not animation topology, and sometimes it gives you spirals. So, I mean, it is a start. Yeah, I think you're doing a lot in a very short period of time. I think that instead of doing that, create something that's really good, and maybe they will kind of see the result of what you've made, and then maybe they will kind of let you develop some of the retopo skills while you're working on projects with them. Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want to do is kind of do something last minute, because you don't give it enough thought, and then you can make mistakes, and it could cause you not to get that job. So I would focus on, having something as good as you can, be perfectly honest with what you can and cannot do. The last thing you want to do is get a job and not be able to do the task they require of you. So tell them what you do know and what you're good at, and then also tell them no, that there are things you're challenged with. I would do that rather than just do a last minute kind of, death march to get your stuff to a level that you think is good, which they might not think it is. Okay, Gustavo, awesome. I'm glad I answered that question. Yeah, that's that's kind of an art thing. It's same thing with 2D. It's same thing with traditional sculpting. Whenever you are working on something, you want to make sure that you're getting the primary forms done. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to change the color of the body real quick. I'm going to fill it with a color. I'm going to go to Z color here and just find a nice color for it. Let's just choose this. Whoa, what the hell? Okay. All right. I'm going to choose this color, set color, and fill object. Okay. All right. The reason why I did that is because exactly what is happening here is because I think the suit that I have is intersecting the body, right? So I want to make sure that that's not happening. So I'm going to go back Oh no, this is the suit. That's the body. It doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter. I want the suit to be the lighter color. So let's pick this color for the suit. Fill object. Okay, and then let's pick the body, which is this one, and let's fill it with the lighter color. Fill object. Oop. Lighter color, set color, fill object. Okay, there we go. That's what I want. Now I've got two bodies. One is a duplicate. I don't want to see that one anymore. I'm going to hide it. And for this body right here, I don't want it to be that color. I'll choose a different color for it. Let me go ahead in my Z colors and choose. Let's choose a nice orange. Maybe this one. Set color, fill object. Ugh, not the best color. Let's try this one. Set color, fill object. That one's better. It kind of matches the mask, so I think that'll work for now. All right, I'm going to put Z color away. And all right. And then here I'm just going to kind of push and pull to get a little bit of an interesting shape on this. It looks like I'm kind of getting symmetry back somehow, even though it's not on. But yeah. All right. I think that's good right there for the suit. So it's going to be something that kind of is tight, but it's also loosely hanging down. I do have a little bit of asymmetry here. I like what I'm seeing, so I'm going to agree to that. I'm also going to switch from basic material 2 to basic material, just so I don't have that specular for now. And then let's go to subdivision level 3, and now you can see that I've got a little bit more detail here. And what's cool is that if I start pushing and pulling too much, I'm going to choose a different dynamics brush here. I'm going to choose the cloth pinch. And it's wild, it just is doing it on the entire model when I just want to isolate the part I'm doing it to. Let's see if I turn the collision volume off, if that's going to make a difference. Yeah, that might be better. You can see the intersection, maybe. Create some folds down here. And again, I'm not really worried that it's intersecting. I'll pull it out in a minute, but I'm just basically creating folds the way they would be on a regular shirt. And I'm just going to go to my regular move brush and just move this out just a tad so it's not intersecting. Okay, so now I've basically got folds going this way. Now let's go back to that cloth pinch. Let's try kind of going outwards. I'm actually going to solo this out so I don't really deal with that intersection, so I can see my folds happening correctly. And then here, same thing. And this is a pretty cool way to sculpt cloth. I used to use Clo or Marvelous Designer, which of course is kind of this on steroids, but for most of what I do nowadays, this I can get away with just using this. So I'm just gonna try and do some of this. All right, let's bring everything back. I do have some intersections, but not a big deal. I can just pull those out with the move brush, like just some subtle kind of moves forward. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I want to give this thing more of a kind of a cloth pattern. So for that I'm going to use micropoly, and to do that I'm going to go to dynamic, subdivision, turn smooth off, no thickness. I don't really need thickness right now, but I do need micropoly. And I don't have that here, so I have to actually go to the menu to get that. All right, so here we go. Menu, under geometry, under dynamic subdiv, micropoly on. And then here are the different micropolys. Let's start with this one, see how it looks. That looks pretty okay. That's what I had before, but I'm going to try, maybe see if there's another one that could work. Maybe this one. Now the problem with this one is that it's kind of transparent. It could work, but it would have to be like some sort of a mesh that goes on top. And another thing I could also do is subdivide this one more time, but then it doesn't work because I don't really, it's kind of a cool thing that just happened, but it's too much geometry, and ZBrush is not happy with it. So I'm just going to go back. Let's choose a different one here. See what this one looks like. That's kind of cool. Now again, this would be a duplicate. Like I'd have to duplicate this, and this would be the one on top, and then there would be one underneath, and then it would kind of create this neat pattern. All right, let me try another couple here. Let's see, what does this one look like? That's kind of interesting, and this one I probably need to align it. Let's see if that does any difference. Let's try rotating it. Okay, that's not good. Let's try that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is working. Let's try that one. Okay, this one's kind of a finer mesh. You could still see underneath, but I think that first one that we had is actually pretty good. Now this one kind of works too. Kind of like this one. And let's see what this one looks like if I subdivide it again. Okay, if I subdivide it again, it looks pretty good. It kind of gives me that kind of cloth look. All right, so that's going to be his costume underneath what he's wearing. And now that I've got that, it's not going to be very prominent. So basically I've got his suit done. So now I got to move on to adding things on top. All right, so let's go back to his original body, which is this one. Solo that out. Let's go up in subdivision level. So this is kind of what's underneath. And this is what is on top. Again, we do have a few places where it still kind of needs to be, the intersection is kind of too much. And I don't know why when I'm pulling, oh, I'm pushing the body in versus pulling the suit out, which is what I want to do. Okay, I just kind of want to do a subtle pull. I'm going to go down a subdivision level. It's kind of interesting because you kind of see the pattern. I think the pattern looks good at this subdivision level, not at 4. I mean, at 4 it looks good, but at 3 it looks kind of interesting. So I'm going to leave it at 3 for now. But I don't need to delete that subdivision level. Okay. All right, let's see. What is the fabric you have in mind for the clothes? Roger's asking, what kind of fabric? Do you make hard surface plates, armor over it? Yes, I'm going to make hard surface plates, armor over it, Roger. I will definitely do that. Gustavo, you have to practice a little bit more. Yeah, practice is the only thing that makes you better. Okay. All right, so there it is. Yeah, so now to do the panels, they're going to go on top of the clothing. I got a few more places here that I got to fix. And I mean, I could have made my life easier and had this not be like a jumpsuit. So, you know, but why make my life easier when I can make it harder? All right, I'm going to do this here, and I'm going to just kind of, for kicks, I'm going to try and see if a little bit of a morph adds anything to it. Yep. So like just a bit of a subtle morph here. Yeah, I think this is going to be good for the outfit. Now, I don't want the outfit to be orange, so now I'm going to basically change the color again. Probably, let's see, I've got a bunch of colors in here. Let's see if I can find one that I like. I think maybe this color. Yeah, that works. Let's try a few different ones too while I'm at it. Let's try this one. That's good too. How about this one? A little bit too light. Let's try something different. Let's try this beige color. Let's see what happens with that. So set color, fill object. Not liking it. Let's try this brown color. Okay. How about this one? I know these colors are kind of close to each other, but they're actually different. Ooh, I like that one. Okay, so this is what it's going to stay as for now, and then as we add different things to it, we can change it out. Okay, and this is at level 2, this is at level 3, the pattern, the cloth pattern, and this is it at level 4. At level 4, it's pretty fine, so you kind of see that there is some sort of a clothness to it, but it's not as defined. This kind of 3 gives it a little bit more of a pattern. And I kind of like 3 the most right now. 2 is interesting as well, right? So 2 actually looks very sci-fi. I'm liking that right now as well. And I'm going to let this, oh, that was pretty fast save. 2 kind of gives it a little bit of faceting and makes it look a little bit more sci-fi, and I am kind of liking that. So let's keep it at 2 for now. It makes the model lighter as well. All right, and let's add the paneling. So the paneling that I added at the ZBrush Summit are these pieces right here. And I will do something similar to these again. And again, if I find something that I like better, then I will use that. So I'm going to start a folder for the ZBrush Summit progress, and I'll put all these ZBrush Summit things in there, and then we can go and get them if we start doing stuff and we don't like it. All right, so in order to do this stuff, I'm going to go back to the body, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of it. So I've got a duplicate of the body, and with that duplicate I'm going to go down to maybe subdivision level, I'll go to subdivision level 3, and I'm going to delete all the lower subdivision levels. And the reason why I'm doing that, and let me rename this to prop base. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to be extracting pieces off of here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have a chest piece on here. And let me just bring my reference up over here to kind of know what that's going to look like. So I'm just going to use my masking. And I'm going to use my masking brush that I made. I talked about how to make it last time. And let's see, B. And it should be AK mask somewhere in here. AK mask, there it is. And so basically what this does is when I draw the mask, it doesn't have a kind of a feathery edge. It's very harsh. So you can see here when I go to it, there's no alpha. And also based on the pressure of the pen, it doesn't really kind of make a softer or harder mask. It's just basically I'm painting the mask on. And if you want to know how I do this, just watch the last stream, episode 2. I show how to do it in that. Okay. Games are always more fun on the hard mode. I guess, I don't know. I kind of, that's an interesting thing that you said. Because I usually, when I play games, I want to, I want to finish the games. I don't want to, I don't want to kind of challenge myself. I just want to get to the end of the game because I don't know if I'm going to like it. Like the last thing I want to do is make a game really hard in hard mode and then get further along and just hate the game. So I'd rather just finish it, and if I really like it, I'll go back and play it in hard mode. And some of the games that I've done that with is like the original Halo. So I kind of played it normal mode, and I liked it so much I went in and played it on Legendary and solved it. So, and then I did it again when it came out on the Xbox because I wanted to have the achievement of having having done it on in Legendary mode. Okay, so I'm just kind of creating a different sort of chess piece here than I had before. And again, I'm going based on my reference here. And I think I have these as separate pieces, but I can separate them out later. And yeah, so this looks good. Okay, so I like this chess piece. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a couple of things. If I hold Control and click on the mask, it makes it fuzzy. And then if I can hold Control Alt and click on the mask, it makes it kind of harder edge. And you can see here I'm getting a little bit of faceting, which is not what I want. So I'm going to soften it a bit and go to this. And the problem with this method is that it kind of shrinks it down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and boost the mask, and let's see, do I have those? Yeah, boost the mask a bit, just kind of get it to come out, and then do this. I think the way I had it at first was perfect without doing any of this stuff. So I'm just going to go back to when I had it like that, and I'm gonna trust my paint to generate that piece. Okay, and then I'm going to use that plugin that I have that I bought online. And again, if you watch my previous streams, I talk about what that is. Again, you don't really need that. You can just do the extract in ZBrush to do the same thing. But I've got this plugin called Extract Pro that I use that basically separates it out, zero meshes it, does all the good things to it. So now, okay, so now I have this as its own piece. I'm gonna do this. And you can see that that's not even showing up, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that forward so it's on top of the clothing. Okay, it's kind of obstructing what's underneath, but that's okay. And I might need to do some adjustments to the clothing to accommodate for this. All right, so first things first, this thing is way too dense. So I'm going to actually go ahead and zero mesh it a few times. So zero mesh it at half. Let's see what that gives us. One more time, one more time. I just want to get it to as low poly as I can get it. And then I'm going to use the move brush with AccuCurve and just kind of mold this into some sort of a hard surface piece. I'm probably going to zero mesh it again, maybe not at half, but yeah, I'm definitely going to have to zero mesh this one more time because I kind of want to put an edge loop around it. It doesn't have one all the way around it yet. So Skull Reaper, if you're still here, this is kind of the way I would retopologize this. So right now the topology doesn't really work because it's got these really kind of bad things on the edges, and I want to have an edge loop that goes around, right? So one way I do that is with group loops. So I just go down to group loops. I have that here, I think, yep. And I just want one loop that goes around it, no polish, no triangles, group loops. So that basically gives me that loop around it, which is good. I don't need multiple poly frames. And now if I zero mesh it, that loop should stay there. No, it did not because I have half on. Let's try same. Okay, that's still no good. So I'm just going to kind of maybe relax this topology on the inside a little bit and maybe do that one more time. Zero mesh same. Okay, and maybe I turn adaptive off. No, it's still giving me that kind of key edges. But let's do that. Let's just do a zero mesh at half. That's good enough, and then we'll do the group loops again. Okay, and I'm going to do that one more time just to get another edge loop around there. And just smooth the inside part. And I don't really need the poly groups. And just get that. And then let's go ahead and add some thickness to this. I don't need it to be smooth, but I do want some thickness. Maybe about there. And I want a few segments, maybe 3, and offset it from where it is on out. Okay, something like that. And then I just basically will mold this to where I want it to go. Again, I just need to kind of play around with the edges. I'm kind of looking at reference here. This is going to connect to the back somehow, so I need to create a thing for it to kind of strap to the back. Okay, there's that. And again, I'm going to go ahead and add a dynamic subdivision, a smooth subdivision to this, just to kind of see what it would look like if I smoothed it, and start again to get those sharper edges with move and AccuCurve. And I want to leave this as open as possible. Again, I'm messing with the topology, but I'm probably going to zero mesh it again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, did I divide this thing? No. Yeah, it's dynamic, so I'm going to turn dynamic off. And I'm going to ZBrush it at same, no adaptive, keep groups doesn't matter. Actually, I could probably do the, here, this'll do what I wanted it to do. I'm going to do the group loops. So I've got one loop that goes around, and I'm going to ZBrush it, but keep the groups. I'll keep it the same, and that's going to give me better topology. Look at that, perfect. Okay, so I still have that edge loop around on the outside, and I also have much better topology on the inside. And then I'm just going to go ahead and relax this just a little bit with the deformation palette. And I could also do it with like hitting shift and doing it this way, but let's see just one thing of relax here, just one. Yeah, it's too much. Even one is too much. All right, that's fine. I'm just going to make a smaller brush here and just bring out that edge a little bit more. And then I'm going to ZBrush it again, same. Let's see if I get something better. It is better. All right, and then let's turn dynamic back on. And there is kind of the base of my piece. And now I'm just going to sculpt on this. So I don't really need the depth of it yet, but I do need some subdivision levels. So I'm going to divide it a couple of times, which should give me this. And I know that my edges are going to be clean. I don't really need to look at polygroups now. And I'm going to pick a different color for this piece. So bring back Z color. And let's choose this one. Set color, and fill object. That's good. All right, and now I'm just going to go to Damien Standard and start kind of figuring out some sort of a look to this. So, all right, hang on. I've got a bunch of stuff. It's really challenge. Okay, all right, good. All right, so now I'm just basically going to go in here, just using Damien Standard. 3 subdivision levels, not much. I'm going to actually define some areas on this that are going to be more of a, I'm looking at my reference just to kind of get an idea. And go to H polish here, bring some of this out. And again, I can, punch into this as much as I want later, but right now I just kind of want to get an interesting shape. And I think I'm going to turn AccuCurve off for now because I don't really need to work on sharpening edges. I'm just basically working on basic shape. All right, that's looking good. And again, this thing does not really have thickness. The thickness is from dynamic subdiv, so it's good. I'm trying to see what it looked like from the side, and that's good. Maybe this gets pushed out a bit. And H polish. Right. Okay. All right. And again, Gustavo, this is kind of for you. Here I'm just basically getting that, I'm getting the primary shapes down before I want to add details to it. Right, so this is kind of just a very rough view of what this I want this to look like. I'm going to turn AccuCurve back on, go back to Move and AccuCurve. Turn AccuCurve on Damien Standard. I don't know what it does to it there. How would I make the border smooth? Right now I have some streaks in the breaks in the silhouette. Yeah, you can polish. Again, I have to see what you're working on to know for sure. But I don't know what borders of what specific borders you're working on. Right, this is way out. That's fine. I'm just going to drop it back down. And you can see how I just basically, I don't like this kind of curve shape here. I want it to be more square, and I just do that with the AccuCurve and Move, and I get that. And I want to do the same thing to this inside part. So there it is. And again, remember, this does not have any thickness. The thickness is all dynamic subdiv. So if I turn this off, you can see that this is just a thin piece, right? I turn double on so you can see the inside. So it's just a thin piece, right? And dynamic subdiv is what gives it its thickness, like that. Which seems to be pretty extreme at this point. I don't need it to be that thick. Yeah, maybe something like that. And eventually I will generate the mesh, but for now I'm just basically sculpting on the outside part with dynamic on. Oh, my work. So when you say the edges, you mean these edges right here? The edges of the piece I'm working on are rough? You mean this stuff right here, the outside part, or do you mean the inside part? You said yes. I don't know. Oh, outside. Yeah, the outside part. I'll worry about that later. I don't have to deal with that yet. I just kind of want to get the general shape going. You mean like these things right here? Yeah, but this is not a. It's not a full shape yet. I will do that later. And if you hit it with smooth, another thing I learned actually at the ZBrush Summit is another thing that helps with that is the pinch brush. I would never think to use that, but somebody was doing it, and I was like, okay, that's a good thing to know. I don't think there's a single ZBrush Summit that I've gone to that I have not learned something I didn't know. I always pick something up from somebody. So here, I'm just using the pinch brush, and that kind of makes it a little bit better. It makes these edges a little bit better. Just on the edges. And again, that's something that somebody was using, and I was just like, okay. And I forget who it was. I want to say it was, I don't know. It could have been one of the sessions that you had to be there live for. I think there were 2 of those. So you see now it's kind of better already. And I'm just using the pinch brush on the edges. And then again, go back to Move here and just make this a little bit more. And of course, there'll be other pieces that are added to this and whatnot. But for now, I can kind of get a pretty clean. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, it's just the pinch brush. And again, thanks for mentioning that, Skull Reaper. That you're right, because these are going to be stored on YouTube. So all of my streams, all the ones that I've done, all seasons, are on Maxon's YouTube channel. So you can go there, you can search for them by name, and hopefully at some point they will have them organized by streamer. They don't have that yet, but they will at some point, I think. Or I hope. All right. I don't know if you guys saw, but they announced at the ZBrush Summit that they're going to have ZBrush on the iPad, and that seems pretty interesting to me. Being able to sculpt on the go, that's awesome. All right, how's my audio doing? It looks like it's doing okay. Right, so here I'm just kind of determining this. Okay, so that's the thing that's kind of a challenge with the pinch brush, is that it kind of, you know, messed up my geometry on the bottom. So here I'm just going to go back to level 1. I don't really care about the high level details that I sculpted. I can always redo those. I'm going to delete the higher, and I'm going to zero mesh this one more time. Again, same, keep groups. Let's do it. And now I've got better topology, and it conforms to some of these new shapes that I added. And I'll continue to do that. So here's before, here's after. You can see that this topology is a lot better. And here I can just subdivide it a couple of times and get those shapes back. I mean, it's easy to get those shapes back if your underlying topology supports it. I still have those clean edges that I had with the pinch brush, but I have better topology to work with. So here I'm going to have another piece that comes down here, and I'll generate it in a minute. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of create a very subtle version of the secondary forms on here, and then I'll detail them out later on. But here I'm just kind of determining what that's going to look like, and I think I'm pretty close to what I want it to be like. Okay, so that's that. And then for these, this is just going to be the underneath part. So I'm going to push these in, and then there's going to be a part that comes on top of it. And I'm going to solo this out so I kind of can get it to where I want it to be. I'm going to H-polish these but inward, like so. All right. Something like this. Again, I'm not really going to be too precious about this at this point, because I am going to add more details, but I just want to add the other parts and then kind of see how they would work well together. All right, I'm going to turn my camera off just for a second, because it was a little bit colder when I first started, but it got warmer, and I think it's just because of the lights that I have on. So I'm going to just take off my sweatshirt, and here we go. I'm back. Right, so now I've got to generate these other parts. So I'm going to have one part be here, and then there's probably going to be some sort of a thing that attaches this way. So I'm going to go and do those parts. So there's two ways I can do that. I can either bring in a cube and kind of manipulate it. I'll do that. Why not? So here, I'll just go to my subtools and append or insert star polymesh 3D, and I'll take that, go to my primitives, and pick a cube here like that. And just bring it over here and use this cube to be the buckle that I want. Or it's not a buckle, it's kind of more of a, looks like it's some sort of a buckle slash, I don't know, I can show you the reference to kind of get an idea of what it is. So here I'm just going to orientate it just where I want it to go, like that. And I want one on the other side, so I'll mirror it in a minute, but not yet. There it is. And I'll mirror and weld. Just I'm working on two of those. And I'm just going to leave that as a placeholder. And let's turn symmetry on. So these things are happening at the same time. And I just need to figure out a good angle for this. That's good. And then the one in the thing is, let me turn dynamic here for the symmetry, or local symmetry, dynamic. On or off, let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is what I want. And for in their thing, this kind of goes out. It kind of adds to the silhouette. I mean, it'd be uncomfortable, but again, this is fantasy. It doesn't really matter. And so it's going to go out this way. And they have it pretty chunky, and they have it in 2 pieces, but I'm just going to kind of stick with this for now. Okay, so that's that. And then let's start putting all the stuff that's going to go around his neck. So right now, I don't really want to polish any of these things to completion. What I want to do really is just get it to a point where, you know, I kind of is all blocky, and then I'll just refine all the pieces as I go along. All right, so I'm going to start adding the stuff that goes around his neck. And to do that, again, I'll just append a star. Like so, and I should have inserted, not appended. Okay, that, and then again, use my primitives brush. And by the way, if you guys don't know what this is, and if you're new to the my streams, I've got a brush, a IMM brush that basically, oops, not that one. Hello. I don't know. Come on, M. Or maybe I need to be on. I am on the brush. Let me. I think this will do it. So yeah, if you look at it, these are all the different primitives, and these primitives are, there is a primitives brush in ZBrush, but these ones have polygroups. They're more like the cylinders are quadded in the middle. Like they're better topology, at least for my workflow. And you can get these. So I've got 2 versions of them. So anyway, I'll just kind of do a little plug here for my stuff. If you want to see my work, you can go to kermaco.com, kermaco.com, and you can see some of my work. You can see I do a lot of hard surface stuff, some organic stuff, some characters and whatnot. You can kind of click on these topics. So if you want to see my character designs, for example, they're here. And then if you want to see my creature designs, they're here. And I'm going to add more to this vehicle design. I've got so much more work that is going to go on here soon. So, but if you want to find out, if you go to kermaco.com, that's where kind of my portfolio is. But if you go to my Instagram, which is probably where you want to go to because I post newer stuff. So there's a lot of stuff I post on my Instagram, like this ZBrush Redshift rendered object, and a lot of stuff in here that's ZBrush based. But the reason why you'd want to go there, and that's basically instagram.com/kermaco, but there's this link tree that basically links you to all my stuff, and if you click on the Gumroad, that links you up to my Gumroad. So I've got these primitive brushes for free. So there's 17 of them that you can get for free. I know it says 15 up here, but that's the image. I've added a couple, so that's 17 brushes. Or I've got a $5 version that actually has a little bit more shapes, like it's got the pill shape, it's got this kind of semi-cylinder flat shape and whatnot. And these are pretty useful, and I use them all the time. So I basically made kind of a bigger IMM brush set, and you can get that for $5. And you can also download my UI colors. If you like my user interface colors in ZBrush, you can get that for free as well. So that's on my Gumroad. Again, the best way to get to it is go to my Instagram, which has the link tree, and the link tree will link you to all of my stuff online. All right. That out of the way, back to here, back to this, and right, so I've got this shape right here, and what I want to create is, oops, I covered up my reference. I'm going to create a shape that kind of goes around his neck, so I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller and bring it around and bring it in. And I'm just going to work on one side for now and then duplicate it. So I'm just kind of trying to estimate kind of where this thing will be. So it's probably going to go around this way. right, and maybe like about there. Right, and if I look at the topology of this thing, it's just basically a cube with no subdivision levels. So let's add a few. I'm going to go in here, and I don't know if there's a. I thought there was a way to do it in here. I forget. Is there a subdivide thing here? I thought there was, but oh yeah, there it is. Subdivide. Okay, but I don't want it to be smooth like this. So let's see. So the number of divisions, and this is faceted. Let's try. Yeah, we want it to be more like this, and let's see. This subdivides it more times. So I want something like that. There we go. That's good. Okay, and now I'm just going to accept this. And I mean, it's not the best topology, but I don't really care at this point. And then I want to actually bend this to go around, maybe make it a little bit thinner. By the way, these thin strips here, polygons, are definitely not going to help do what I want to do. So I could add some subdivision levels to these. I can always insert edge loops, or I think I'll just leave it like this for now. And I'm just going to use the bend arc modifier here to just create this kind of look to this. There we go. And I don't want any, no, I don't want, do I want twist? No, I don't want any twist. And the radius is fine. Okay, and I just kind of want to move this over. And again, this is just going to be the base mesh of what I'm working on. So this is just going to be the starting point. This thing goes down further in the reference, and it also goes out more. So I'm just kind of, again, just doing the basic base mesh of this. I might zero mesh it and keep the polygroups and see if I get something that matches the shape. But for now, I'm just kind of getting the general shape of it. At this point, I can also activate symmetry, or I'm sorry, mirror and weld it. Oh, not like that. I think I've got local symmetry still on. Mirror and weld it. Okay, there we go. And now I want local symmetry back on with dynamic. So I can just rotate this. Okay, what is going on? Oh, it would help if symmetry was on. It would definitely help. Okay, so it's something like this, but it goes up higher. And again, positioning this where I want it is going to be key. And again, I'm working with very low resolution just because I want this to be very responsive until I can kind of get it to where I want it to be. And I think this is kind of where it is. All right, that's good. And so now I'm just going to duplicate this. So I've got two of them. And then for one of them, I don't really need the top part. So let's see what happens if I zero mesh this. So I'm going to zero mesh it, same, keep groups. Let's see what I get. I get something like that, which is fine. It's not as hard surfacey as I'd like. Let's see if I say detect edges, if it'll do it better. No. I think it's because I've got X symmetry on. Let me, I don't have local symmetry on. Let me try this one more time. Zero mesher, I'm going to turn adaptive off. Here we go. It's got this little kind of protruding part in here, but let's see if I can fix it with just smoothing it a bit. All right, so now I'm basically getting what I want, but it's not as hard surfacey as I'd like it to be. But maybe this could be the tube part that's going into the hard surfacey part. So I'm just going to smooth this part out here. And I'm probably not going to need the bottom part. I'm going to bring this other piece back. And with this other piece, I'm going to solo it out. And I'm going to use, it's going to be tricky, but I'm going to use, see if QMesh does this. QMesh. No, it's not going to do it. I was kind of hoping to get rid of these. Well, let's see if I can do it in this direction. I can probably change the settings for it to be like 1, and then it'll do it. But it's going to be a lot of different steps to get this done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something different. Basically what I want to do is I want to lop off this top portion of this and just keep these ones over here. So I think one way of doing this is, let's see if I can do reconstruct subdiv to get rid of some of the subdivision levels. Or actually, I have a better way. I just figured it out. Okay, so I'm just going to delete some edge loops. So I'm just going to insert, and by holding down Alt, it's just delete. I'm going to delete these edge loops, which will make my life a lot easier. So I'm selectively deleting edge loops, and then I'm going to delete these ones as well. But I'm not going to delete the ones that go around this way. And now I can just use QMesh to just get rid of these like that. All right, so I got this back, and I can subdivide them later if I want to, but I do have kind of the base shape that I want. So there's this piece like that. God, theirs goes out further. So a lot of working in ZBrush is troubleshooting. A lot of concept design is troubleshooting. And so, you know, sometimes you find a quick, like you just saw me troubleshoot a thing and find out a way to solve it. And sometimes going into it, you don't know how to do it, but the features come in handy after a while. All right, so I want to do the same kind of thing I did there to this, but I don't really need to be that kind of, it doesn't have to, it's not going to be, you know, sharp corners. So I can do that a lot easier by just using the knife tool, knife curve, like that. And that gives me a different polygroup over here. And I'll just do ZBrush, keep groups, same story. And I basically get something, you know, pretty much close to what I want there. And I want this inflated a bit, because this bottom part here is kind of a metallic piece, but this is kind of a rubber hose. And I actually want to see if I can get this to go all the way to the back. I've got enough topology, but I might be able to pull it off. Here we go. And then somehow this will kind of connect up to this thing in there. I'm going to inflate this a bit. Something like that. Okay, and then notice here that there's kind of an area that these two are intersecting. So I'm going to go back to this one, and I'm going to use the move tool to just move it, nudge it just down a little bit, so there is room for this other piece. And there's going to be a whole bunch of junk in here as well. So at this point, I'm going to hide the helmet top part. And you can see this part right here is still kind of got some weird funky stuff on the inside, but I don't really care. And then the skull's kind of protruding on the back. I don't really care about that too, because it's not being seen. But I also maybe don't want this, right? So because I'm going to be working, I don't even want the skull because I'm going to be doing some stuff in here. The eyes look pretty funky. I'm going to hide that. Okay, so now I just need to put some junk in here. I'm going to put a tube in here, and I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm just going to take this thing and duplicate it, and then just turn it around and make it thinner like that. Just use that over here. Maybe not as... See, now it's the same exact thing, but it looks totally different once you flip it around like that. Maybe make it a little bit thicker. And this is inside, coming out like this. And I'll have to kind of create some stuff in here to kind of make it work. All right, so All right, yes, outside going to have rewind that part. Okay, most definitely. Okay, Noob G, I don't want political stuff in my stream, so I will kick you out. I really, you know, I think there's people just out there doing this kind of stuff, and I know everybody has opinions, so I don't want it on my stream. So please don't post this stuff on my stream. Okay. Let's see here. And these people are just kind of, you know, they don't really have a thing. They just go on streams and post stuff. I don't really think it's going to make a difference. I don't think anybody here can make a difference in what's going on. So it would be great if you refrain from putting anything political or anything kind of... For a while there, we were getting a whole bunch of stuff that was... you know, kind of risque, and I don't want that stuff either. So please refrain from doing that. Okay, so I'm just kind of seeing what this will look like. All right, so that looks good. And then I'm going to put in a couple of parts here. And those parts I'm going to do from this IMM brush that's in ZBrush. So BI, insert IMM, and this one right here. And let's see if I can find some sort of a gasket. A good way to see these is you can either make this bigger, so you can see these bigger, and this usually comes up on top. I just have it docked to the right. You can go into the settings and do that, and I think I'm going to use this part right here. Okay, the mech shaft. That's an awesome name. I think Joseph Drust made these, or maybe I'll use the piston. Let's try the piston first before I use the mech shaft. All right, so piston it is, and then I'm just going to use this. Whoa, I didn't pick the piston. All right, let's just do piston one more time. See what that looks like. Looks like this. That's good. And I'm just going to rotate that and put it over here like this. And maybe do something like that and something like that. All right. All right, so that's good there. Let me go ahead and mirror that to the other side. Oh, nope, that didn't do it. Do I have local on? Mirror and weld X. Nope. I have local symmetry on. Why isn't it? Oh, I know why. Okay, so I'm going to just split the mask points. So please split mask points. There's that, and now it should work. Let's see, did it split it? It did, and then I did a undo. Let's do one more. Let's try it one more time. Split mask points. Okay, good. And then I'm just going to mirror and weld this. Here we go. That's what I wanted. So we'll put these on. Okay, I don't know. Oh, I probably don't have symmetry on. Here we go. And just move these into place. Smaller. Okay. I think this whole symmetry thing needs a more intuitive interface, but the mere fact that you can do it is pretty awesome. Olicron, hey, great to see you again too. Glad you are coming back to the stream. I like seeing people that have been here before, and okay, And hopefully you're coming back to get new information. So yeah, hello. All right, so I kind of have to figure where to put these. I think maybe inside. So right now it's just kind of these arrangements of pieces that can go. All right, there we go. I don't know why this is taking me so long to kind of get it right, but I just, it's kind of one of those pieces that's going to be in here. Again, there'll be more of these and I'll add more detail to them, but right now this is kind of what's happening. And then I'm also going to copy these, make a copy of them just by holding Control. And I'm going to have another set down here. Maybe smaller. Nope, bigger. And going this way. All right, let's let that save. Well, I mean, I don't know if you're saying if it's relative. I think a lot of the stuff I'm using is that's a good point. I mean, I do use some 2023 stuff. But I also am using a lot of 2022 stuff. I didn't know there was such a thing as non-Maxon users. But I can understand why some people stay on ZBrush 2022. Personally, I've seen enough reason to go to 2023. There's some really great new features in it. It helps a lot of companies, and so but I do understand your point, and I do understand why some people just kind of want to stay with the older version. I think maybe this one, move it up here somewhere. But yeah, I personally, you know, there are some indispensable things in 2023. There's no way I could survive without those capabilities. Masking being the primary reason. All right, let's bring the helmet back to see what all the stuff looks like with the helmet. It looks okay. Another thing I also want to do at this point is go back to what I did at the ZBrush Summit to see if kind of like how this thing right here is going. Saw that piece out. It looks like there's two different pieces. I'm just gonna split hidden, and I'm gonna bring this thing out just to kind of see what. Oh yeah, I kind of like how it's adding this kind of thing to it. So maybe I can incorporate this into here somehow. Use this instead of the tube I created. I don't know. I don't want to change it too much. Maybe I can use both somehow. Right, and then maybe cut this part out. I'm actually going to use the clip curve for this. There we go. And I'm going to Dynamesh this right now because I don't really need it to be good topology. And just kind of tuck it in here. And I mean, I made this thing exactly the same way I made the other thing, so I don't really feel guilty about bringing this thing in. It's exactly the same way I created the tube underneath, and I guess I could get the tube underneath to do the same thing, but I think from a design perspective, this thing works pretty neat, so I'm going to keep it. All right, let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of I mean, ZBrush 2022 had a lot of amazing things in it, and I mean, it's a good place for people to just kind of stay if they want to not upgrade or not subscribe or not get the perpetual upgrade. But honestly, personally, I had ZBrush in 2025 or 2005, and I didn't pay for an upgrade until the recent one. And I'm okay with kind of paying for it just because I use it all the time. It's worth it to me. And they are adding new stuff. They showed some cool stuff at the ZBrush Summit that looks pretty indispensable. The other thing is that they added that's really neat, and I might use that for posing, is the what's it called? I forget the name of it. I think it's in here somewhere where under geometry. I think it's a thing where you basically can create a low-res version of it, pose it, and then it will transfer all the high-res details to it. I like that feature. I probably will use it for this project. Proxy pose, that's right. Proxy pose is pretty nice. So I don't know. I mean, if you really think about it, they're third-party software that you might need to buy to do that kind of stuff. And with ZBrush doing it by itself, it might be worth the upgrade price. I don't know. I mean, it was really great that they upgraded everybody for free for so many years, and I think we got spoiled. But they are a business, and they do need to kind of make money so they can continue to develop it. So I don't know. I guess my policy is if I'm using the stuff and I'm using it for my work, for my freelance work, then it's well worth paying for it. And I use ZBrush all the time. It's kind of the tool I use the most. So it's just like if you had a trucking business, and kind of a weird metaphor here. If you had a trucking business, you can only run the trucks for so long before you need to get new trucks, right? Or you need to upgrade them, or you need to change certain things with them. So if it's a business tool, that's great. But if it's something that you just use as a hobby or you just play around with it, 2022 might be enough. And then at some point you might want to upgrade, and then you can be on that version forever. Because if you do the perpetual upgrade, it basically is the same thing as before, where you basically get get all the features. So I'm thinking, when they come up with ZBrush 2024, you'll get all the features that they've been adding in 2023 in that version, plus whatever new stuff comes out in 2024. I'm really curious to see what happens next year. All right, so that's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and color this the same color as this, just so I can kind of see it. Yeah, it's kind of coming together, all these different pieces, so I'm just going to have to put some other doohickeys in here. So I'll probably put some kit bash parts in the neck here just to kind of bolster up. Maybe put some cables and wires in there as well, to kind of get it to look more like the reference that I have. Okay, so I'm going to kind of jump away from this area. What I tell my students is don't work in the same area for a very long time, just because things get a bit stagnant. So I'm going to go back to this body, actually leave this mask on for now, and I'm going to go ahead and create this other piece. So I'm just going to create some markers for me, just to kind of know where that is. Okay, and I'm just going to clear that mask, and in my mind's eye remember where all that was. and just go in and paint out this other piece that I want to have go in here. Upkeep your shop. That's a good way to put it, Scroll Reaper. Upkeep your shop, and that's basically what it is. It's the tools of your shop. Okay. Right. Because inlaid full price nearly same yearly. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do the subscription. What's really great about ZBrush is you can do the subscription or you can get the perpetual. I mean, the perpetual is, you know, definitely more expensive than free, but I still think it's not bad. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Olicron what Olicron is saying is it makes sense. You can wait a few years. And then get all the features. There are a lot of options, but the way I see it is if you need the features for work or whatever, then they're indispensable. You can get them then. Okay, I'm just going to use Extract Pro, get this little piece here, which is kind of something I could have very easily added. But I don't know why I just wanted to do it the way I did the other stuff. Okay, again, this is going to be too high res. I'm going to go ahead and zero mesh it with less geometry until I get something along the lines of this. And then use my AccuCurve move to just get it to kind of, it's going to be in this area right here. I'm going to do the thing where I showed all the menus. Okay, so it's just going to go in here like this. And it's going to be some sort of a buckle or something that goes over in this area like that. Again, I'm just kind of loosely basing this on the reference. One of the things I find AI to be useful for is you know, generating reference ideas. I don't personally like doing generative AI for finished work. I think it's kind of I mean, it's kind of cheating, and it's also, you know, using other artists' work where you're not really giving them any credit. But I like generating images or looking at, I mean, there's enough of it out there. Just looking at images for reference ideas and just like going to Google and finding pictures or whatever that you could use. So I just use it as reference. Right now, I don't use it as finished work. I probably won't. Even though there's some interesting things going on where you can draw something and use AI to render it for you. My friend Scott Robertson's doing some interesting things with that. So it's going to be curious to see how, you know, ethical that is going to be. All right, so there's that piece. I'm going to go ahead and do the thing I did before, where I'm just going to go ahead and add a group loops, edge loop around it, maybe 2 loops this time. No polish, no triangles. Do it. Did it do it? It did. Okay, and then I'm just going to zero mesh it again. Keep groups. I don't want it to be half. I actually want to keep it the same number. And then here we go. All right, so there's that piece, and then I'm going to turn this off and kind of get this into place. So this plugs into this area over here, but maybe it's got like something like that. Again, very rough. Just kind of getting it to fall into place. All right. Okay, Skull Reaper likes to brainstorm with ChatGPT. Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. I think, yeah, we're just living in an age where you can't really ignore AI, but hopefully the ethical stuff gets sorted out. Again, it's really hard to think about people's work being used and them not getting any credit or any payment for it. I don't think that's a good idea. But yeah, ChatGPT is definitely in a lot of workflows, and I mean, it's kind of cool stuff for sure. I'm kind of interested to see what the end point is going to be for all these. Like, you know, meaning like, is it going to get to a point of saturation, or is it just going to continually develop into it being better and better and better? I mean, if you look at PCs, I mean, they're great, but, you know, Windows 11 doesn't have that much more than Windows 10 did. It does have some cool stuff, but realistically, I think it's at a saturation point unless they do some radical new stuff, maybe with AI. But everything reaches a point where, you know, like you look at the iPhone, yeah, they have a faster processor, a better camera, but like, is it as radical as the iPhone was when it first came out? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what the saturation points is going to be of AI, or if it's going to reach it at any point in time soon, or if it's going to continue developing. All right, so JC, I am using some concepts. So here is my reference sheet. Some of these images are from AI. These two images are from Brian Sum, who's just an amazing artist. Just came out with a book. If you don't have it, I definitely recommend you pick it up. It's called Aftermarket, AFTRMRKT. And he's got some really cool designs. Like, I really like this paneling here that I might incorporate into this model. I like some of the stuff that's going on with the arm. I don't think I'm going to do a mechanical arm for this guy. But anyway, these are the images. Some of them are AI. Some of them are just funny stuff. And yeah, so I'm definitely going off of reference, but it's not, you know, I'm not just basically making exactly the same thing. I'm just incorporating some of each one of them into the design itself. All right, so here I'm going to divide this one more time, and then I'm going to use my handy dandy thing to generate this big buckle that's going to go over here as a separate piece. So again, I'm just masking it out. Extract Pro. There it is, and then go in and zero mesh it at half. Let me turn on polyframe here, see what I'm getting. I just want to get it to at least amount of polygons as possible, which I think that's it. Let's add an edge loop around it, group loops, maybe 2 loops, no polish. No triangles, group loops, there it is, and then do a zero mesh or keep groups so I can get that border, and just hit that one more time. Okay, and then dynamic, no smoothing but thickness, offset, let's add 3 segments. Let's get some more thickness. What is going on with this thing? Oh, it's going in the wrong direction is what's happening. And let's offset it, or in this, what the heck? What? Oh, you know what probably happened? It probably masked the back of it. So here, let me go back and do the no dynamic. All right, well, what's the stuff in the back? I thought I'd masked something in the back by mistake, but I guess I haven't. So dynamic subdiv, lower the thickness. Yeah, I think I just went overboard on the thickness, and I think I'm going in the wrong direction here. Ooh. Yeah, I want to offset it into the front this time. There it is. And yeah. For this one, I'm just going to generate it. I'm going to apply the dynamic subdiv. So now it's just a kind of its own piece, and I'm just going to make this into this Mondo buckle. Let me get my reference going again. It's going to go in here. I might need to redo this, but it's good for now. All right, let's see. What material am I using for the body? Are you talking about the clothing? Ivan, if you're asking about the clothing, here, so this is going to be on Maxon's YouTube channel, so you can go there and watch the beginning part. I show how I made this pattern. It's just basically using dynamic subdivision and using micro mesh to get that pattern. And it's kind of neat, huh? Definitely stands out. That means I made the right choice, so thank you for that. All right, so here I'm just going to get some sharp edges on this and something like that, just to kind of fit in that area. JC is a software engineer. Okay, awesome. Character design, fell in love with it, started the game. Yeah. You know, I used to be a software engineer as well for Microsoft. I used to work at Microsoft as a software engineer, and after 18 years, I decided to do this instead, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so that's done, and now I'm going to just duplicate this thing. Turn symmetry off, and delete mask points. Or split mask point, sorry. And I'm going to use this just to create a different version of it. So I'm going to just use the same topology for now to create these things that go over here, which I think I did create already, didn't I? I thought I had some boxes. I hid them. Okay, there we go. All right, so I don't really need these parts. Can I use them anywhere else? Maybe I can use them as kind of the buckles that go over here. Like that. Move it in. I'm going to want 2 of these, so I'm going to mirror and weld to the other side. That. All right, so I can kind of see that this is slowly but surely becoming kind of more of the different pieces, and then I just need to kind of sculpt these around. All right, so we got about 5 more minutes to go. Yeah, Olicron, it's interesting that you say that. Coding for me kind of got less and less and less as I worked at Microsoft. I coded less and over time. And when I became management, I didn't code at all. And I enjoyed coding. It was fun. So much has happened to that world since I stopped. All right, just kind of add a little bit more to this part, so you guys can see how, like, you know, it's starting to get flushed out as little by little. All these different parts are kind of going to be adding more to it, and then I can retopologize them as needed. I want to create a little bit of a color variation here, so I'm going to color some of these things differently. So I'm going to go to this one right here. And let me bring up Z color, and let's just choose this one, set color, fill object. Let me move this over so I don't have to travel as much, and then these guys as well. All right, so I just kind of want to differentiate between these, and then this one right here, I want to differentiate that one too. I just kind of want these to be different colors so I can kind of differentiate that they're different pieces and then work on them individually. How do I find clients? They usually find me, oddly enough. But word of mouth, usually, like somebody I've worked with mentions me to other people, and I'm not really the best at finding clients, unfortunately. I almost wish like I had somebody who just did that for me, found the clients, and then I could just do the work. It's hard for me to kind of do both at the same time. But one of the things that I recommend you do is maybe find an industry that is not saturated. Like, I mean, there's a lot of ZBrush artists that work in the entertainment industry. There's a lot of ZBrush artists that work in the game industry. But if you go outside of those industries, you might find a lot of work. Like for a while there, I was getting a lot of auto industry work. But that's kind of gone away. Sometimes advertising companies. Ooh, this color didn't take for the whole thing because there was a mask. Let's do that over. Okay. So yeah, I mean, another thing you can do is you can kind of go to different types of shows. Like, I was just watching this Keyshot video, and these people basically use Keyshot for fire truck lights, right? So, you know, so they go to fireman conventions, and basically they do visualizations for those guys. I mean, you know, there's an industry that probably, you know, if you go talk to people there, they haven't really been exposed to what ZBrush can do or what any of these tools can do. So maybe find some industries where this is not used as much. That's kind of the strategy that I have. All right, kind of staying on that piece for a long time, but it's kind of a key central piece. So these pieces are kind of coming together okay. I'll probably have to do the straps in the back and kind of start doing more of these all over the body of this guy, and then just refining the different pieces and then getting it to a different point. This workflow is a little bit different than some workflows I've used before. Sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I use the I use the image blasting method, which I've done in a previous character stream, the astronaut lady that I did. If you guys want to watch that, that's another way of kind of getting out a concept. I mean, in this case, I'm using AI, but I don't always use AI. Sometimes I use that method, especially if I'm in a crunch. It allows me to kind of get a lot of these details that I'm working on now done pretty fast. All right. Dental industry is good, but dental industry, jewelry is a thing. Like a lot of ZBrush. I know this friend of mine, Eric Keller, who also streams every once in a while, but he primarily used to be into insects and scientific visualization, but recently he's doing jewelry. And he's doing jewelry with insects, which is kind of interesting. So, you can do that. I know another artist friend of mine who does kind of more caricatures. So he does like news kind of stuff. I mean, look at Beeple and the kind of stuff he does. There's all sorts of untapped areas that you can go into. I mean, most everybody, there's one artist that streams here that basically all he does is food. He does sculptures of food, and they're amazing. They're really cool. I kind of like watching those every once in a while. He's got some really good tricks that I can use for what I do, but he just does food. So there's a lot of untapped potentials out there. So I guess the thing I'm trying to say is don't limit your search to specific things that are already oversaturated with ZBrush artists. There's a lot of areas where there still is a lot of room to grow. See, here I'm starting to get into the details, which I should not do, but it's kind of over time anyway, so I'll just do a couple of things here and then maybe I'll embellish them later. All right, folks, another stream out of the way, and I'll kind of continue this a little bit longer, see if you have last minute questions, and then we'll call it a night. I'm on again in a couple of weeks on Friday. And I know I keep saying this over and over again, but I'm also looking to do Twitch streams outside of ZBrush Live. And I'm trying to see if I can get that going. And those will kind of maybe include ZBrush, but also maybe some other tools. We'll see. All right. Again, I'm kind of going into some detail here that I don't really want to go into, so I think this would be a good time to stop the stream. Okay, here we go. Just do that, and there it is. Okay, so let me see if there's last minute stuff. Okay. All right, you guys are having a fun time talking to each other. I love that. Yeah, the food stuff's pretty neat. I'll tell you guys who the artist is. I think we'll just end on that. But if you go to, let me bring up my browser here. If you go to Maxon or what used to be Pixelogic's YouTube, I think it's still called ZBrush. It's funny. It's kind of showing what I'm working on here. But if you go here and if you go to video, if you go to live, that's where all the live stuff is. And so there's a lot of different artists here that, your style, my stuff might not be your style, but there's a lot of artists that do really cool looking stuff. There's jewelry stuff, there's stylistic stuff, creatures, all sorts of stuff, and all sorts of different works. And I'm trying to see where his stream is. I probably passed 2 or 3 of them without noticing, but oh, he hasn't streamed lately. Yeah, he was at the ZBrush Summit. He did a workshop, but where are you? And the reason why I'm doing all this is because I can't remember his name. Where is your stuff, buddy? I don't see food yet. Here we go. This one right here. No, that's not it either. What the heck? If anybody sees food, stop me. I'm still scrolling. Ah, here we go. Is this it? No. It's the only food. Oh, here we go. Here, this is it right here. Cooking Patrick 4D. That's his name. And so he does really neat food stuff. Like this kind of stuff. Wait. Like this kind of stuff that you see around here. This is all done in ZBrush and rendered in Redshift. Right? So, and he does all that in ZBrush, so you might want to watch his stuff. But anyway, this channel right here has all of the streams, and you can see my previous streams on here as well. So if you want to kind of watch and see how I got to where I am, definitely go to the Pixelogic channel on YouTube, and you can watch them there. All right, so with that, I think this is a good place to stop. I'm just going to do a quick save while I bid you all a good day, good night. Hopefully we'll have peace, in the world, and it's just amazing. Like, not one war ends and another is started. So I just wish all these wars would end and we can have peace for a few years. I think we all kind of would enjoy that a lot more. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Happy ZBrush